host from the Not Crazy podcast, a Psych Central podcast, Lisa. Lisa, welcome to our Facebook Live. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Well, I am doing fantastic. I feel like I spend just a ridiculous amount of time on Zoom
Yeah,
lately.
yeah. And I still don't understand how it works. Even after all this effort, I still don't know what all the features do.
It's exactly like Skype, except it's in the news a lot more because it's the new thing, I think.
Well, and it has a cooler name.
I do. I
Anything with a
like the
Z is
name.
good. Yeah.
So Lisa and I host the Not Crazy podcast. It's one of many podcasts that are on Psych Central. And we wanted to start doing more Facebook Lives because we know people are stuck inside. There used to be support groups and meetings. And well, you could just go out with your friend and
Complain.
have a meal or watch a concert or go to a movie. And a lot of that's gone right now. And we've done this on Psych Central for several weeks. We've had panel discussions. We've done Q&A. And now Lisa and I thought that we would just sit together and have a nice conversation over the next half hour about how it's impacting us. Now, I live with bipolar disorder, and well, Lisa, you live with depression.
Mm-hmm.
How is the quarantine hitting you?
Not as bad as it is. Not as bad as it is you. It's okay. It's gotten better. Well, my husband is now working from home, which is a little bit of a distraction because I always worked from home and this is my space. This is my area that he's interfering with during the work day. But we've gotten into a routine and he's doing a lot better at not annoying me. So yeah, it's been okay.
Since we're on Facebook, I think it's only appropriate to use Facebook memes to drive the conversation.
Okay.
So
I'm not familiar.
Almost our entire discussion is going to be based on questions from Facebook memes. I
Questions
think it's
from Facebook
yeah.
memes. Okay.
I think that it's time that somebody holds the memes accountable. Now, for those who don't know,
you didn't tell me that in advance. This is a good plan.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I thought I'd surprise you.
See, you could have told me. I would have thought it was cute.
After 20 years, I can still surprise you.
The magic is still there. Yeah, I know.
Listen, you are an introverted person.
Yeah.
I am an extroverted person.
Yeah.
We're really night and day as far as this goes, which makes us great podcast hosts because we're different.
I like to think so, sure.
The first meme that I want to talk about is the meme that says, "Hello, introverts. We've been training for this our entire lives." And there's other memes out there that say things like, I hate that we're under a quarantine because my life hasn't changed at all.
Yeah. But it has changed. See, I saw that one too. And I actually thought, because you were talking about how much more time you and Kendall are at home or how much money you guys are saving from not going out. And yeah, we have not realized that kind of savings, not at all. So apparently we don't go out that much, but it's not the same. People keep telling me that, well, you're always at home. This is just same for you. It's not a change because you already worked at home. Yeah, but there's a big difference between doing something voluntarily and having to do it. Aside from the childish aspect of as soon as someone tells you can't do something, you want to go run and do it. But aside from that, you had the option. Or like, let's say you went out 5 times a week and now you go out 0, right? And you're like, well, but let's say I went out once a week. I'm still at 0. So I'm still getting 0 amount of my going out needs fulfilled.
I've noticed that during this entire pandemic, there's just been a lot of, there's been like 2 camps. Like all of the extroverts are like, oh my God, the extroverts are going to die. Check in on them. They're not doing okay. And all joking aside, I do think, speaking purely as an extrovert, it's been extraordinarily difficult for me.
You've struggled a lot more than I have.
I like to be outside a lot. I just like to be outside a lot.
Well, not really literally outside.
Yeah. I don't like the outdoors. I like to be
let's be clear.
Home.
Yeah.
I realized during all of this, another Facebook meme, that my hobby was dining out.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. I had not realized that was your hobby, but it totally is.
Yeah. But the warring camps are the introverts don't have a problem and the extroverts are all suffering very, very greatly. Now, Again, I want to go back to you specifically being an introvert. Are you having any anxiety or mental health problems because of the quarantine?
Probably not. Except of course that all the people around me are messed up. And so that, like, for example, you're you're just climbing the walls. And obviously your mood has a non-zero effect on me. Not as much as it did when we lived together, when we were married, but when your best friend is struggling, there's some non-zero, sorry, there is some non-zero element of you're struggling too. And my parents are driving each other crazy, and so they're calling me to complain, and well, not complain, to talk lovingly. So there's some stress to that. There's stress to knowing that the people around you are in a bad way.
Do you think that introverts in general are handling the quarantine better than extroverts? Or is that
I
just
don't
one of
know.
those things that it's sort of like playing the suffering Olympics?
Uh,
The pressure on you is still there. It's just different. The
yeah,
pressure on extroverts is still there. It's just
yeah.
different.
I would totally go with that. And you also have to consider it's not just about what we can and cannot do, it's the reason behind it. Right? It's not just, oh, the quarantine, the place is shut down and I can't go out to eat. Yeah, but you can't go out to eat because there's a deadly disease rampaging the country. All right. So that's very stressful for everyone. Personality traits are not.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because I think it gets lost in all of the mental health, COVID-19, quarantine, pandemic, emergency discussions. We talk about being locked, and I'm making air, I don't know, I'm not on
Locked.
a
Okay.
podcast, people can see me.
Like
We
say
talked about how we're
lockdown.
locked in our house. Again,
Right.
Facebook meme. What if we change the word locked to we're choosing to stay home to protect
Right.
our friends and
Exactly.
family? And the way that we're talking about
Reframe.
that, yeah. And do you think that that's a beneficial thing to do?
Yes.
Do you think that the anxiety is being caused because we're looking at it as a lockdown rather than looking at it as a safety precaution?
Not all of the anxiety, obviously, but I think there is some non-zero benefit to not looking at it that way. Yeah, you totally, because it gives you agency. When you say, "Hey, I'm doing this to protect myself, my family, my countrymen, my fellow Americans." When you look at it that way, you have control and agency over it. Whereas, "Oh my God, I'm being forced to stay inside." You don't have any control over that. So how can that not be a benefit to your mental health?
To get back to the original question, which I did not ask properly, to get back to the
Okay.
original question, we're always talking about it in terms of the effects. The effects of the COVID-19 is the quarantine, and we're all ultra focused on the quarantine.
Yeah.
What are the effects of knowing that there's
Right.
an
Exactly.
illness running
Yeah.
around? I don't think people are talking about that enough. We're talking about being stuck inside our homes or not being able to go out to dinner or concerts or movies,
Right.
etc. But you brought up a really good point of there is anxiety in knowing that there is an illness
Right.
that is being unleashed. What are your
Well, not
thoughts
to
on
mention, what if
handling that anxiety?
Well, not to mention, what if you're one of the people more directly affected? What if you or one of your loved ones is actually sick or even dies? So there's that.
Back to the Facebook memes. If you yourself have the coronavirus, or somebody that you love has the coronavirus, and you
Mhm.
see the Facebook memes that are all over Facebook about how this is a hoax, it's a political ploy,
Yeah.
it's not really real. What are your thoughts on handling that? Because I can imagine that knowing that you're sick or that somebody that you love is sick, and then seeing somebody pretending, denying it, buying into the conspiracy theories would be very, very difficult. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that, Lisa?
Well, yeah, I assume that would be very, very difficult. And I don't know that I want to speak to how difficult that would be, but I imagine it's the same as, I don't know if these are good examples, but it's the same as, how do you feel when you see anti-vaxxers? You think, oh my God, and that bothers you, right? And you're worried about yourself and your family getting measles. Or then, like, a really extreme example, those poor Sandy Hook parents and the Sandy Hook truthers. Oh my God, how do they survive? How incredibly horrible. Someone to tell you, hey, your kid isn't really dead. So, I, yeah, I don't even know what the answer is. That it's horrible. It's horrible. Although not as horrible as for some.
It sounds
That's a
like to
bad
me what you're
answer.
saying is that the conspiracy theories, unfortunately, are just part of our culture. And whether we're
Yes.
in the midst of a
Ooh,
global
you're saying
pandemic
it
or
better.
whether it's just Tuesday,
Yeah.
it's going to
Yes,
happen.
yes, yes, you say it better than me. What I'm trying to say is that whether it doesn't matter what it is, you have the same feeling as all that crap is all around us all the time, always. So whatever that feeling is, that's the feeling you have now.
one of the things that I think is very interesting is there is like that little slice of normalcy, and I don't know if normalcy is a
I
word.
think it's normalcy. I actually don't know. We
Normalcy.
should look that up.
There's this little slice of normal, and knowing that even in the midst of a global pandemic, there's conspiracy theories. There's people that don't trust the
Yeah.
media. There's people who don't trust the government. There's people who put their own spin on it. There's people who say,
Well, I don't trust the
I
government,
went
but there is
to
some stuff we can trust them on.
all right, let me finish,
I
Lisa.
don't want people to think I'm out there trusting the government. Got to correct that immediately. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway.
Can't let that go by for even seconds.
No, sincerely, what I'm trying to say is that even in the midst of all of this, in all of this, people are still behaving stereotypically. And what I try to remember is that what I would have done before the pandemic if somebody would have said, oh my God, Gabe, you don't have bipolar disorder. Bipolar is fake. You know, the anti-psychiatry people are out. I wouldn't have really paid them much mind. I would have muted them on Facebook. You know, going back to social media, excuse me.
This is a good example.
Going back to social media, I really think that we need to remember how we handled things like this before before the global pandemic, and handle it now. And the truth is that when I see people spread conspiracy theories, etc., about the pandemic, I either mute them, block them, unfriend them. I just don't pay them any mind, because I think that paying them mind, one, allows them to expand. It actually it broadens their audience.
Yeah.
Number one, ignoring them makes their audience smaller. But let's talk for a moment again, and I know we started to, but I do on a personal level know how hard it is to suffer from suicidality, depression, bipolar disorder, and then see somebody that I respect, somebody that I know, somebody in my own family post something that says that it's fake. It's not so easy to block your Uncle Bob. It's not so easy to block Aunt Linda. It's not so easy to, ignore your cousin who you grew up with and you have really fond memories with. You want to remain friendly with them, but what they said hurt their feelings. Do you have any thoughts on addressing it with them, or is it smart to address it with them? Like, what's the best option here?
I don't know. I go back and forth on that with my own family. My brother and I have talked about it quite a bit. I guess the question, how far are you willing to go? Are you willing, if grandma is nasty to your girlfriend, are you willing to cut her off? Are you willing to say, that's it, grandma, I'm never speaking to you again until you get over this? And if you're not willing to do that, which is perfectly fine, you can be either way you decide. If you're not willing to do that, you might want to register your unhappiness once and then just shut up. Because if you're not willing to take that step.
It's interesting that you said register your unhappiness once. So,
well, you can't just let it go completely, because you never know. There's a non-zero chance that grandma will come around. It's possible she doesn't know, especially when, you figure you've got that uncle who really believes all the conspiracy theories. It is very unlikely that you talking to him is going to talk him out of any of that, right? But you never know. All these people, come out of it somehow. There are people who believed it at one time and don't now. Someone convinced them. So it never hurts to say something once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times if you really can't hold it in. But after a certain point, give up. You're just frustrating yourself. Okay, just make it a game.
Let's talk about this for a moment. The addressing it once. There's so many ways to address conflict.
Yeah.
You can come in screaming and yell and call him an SOB. You can post all over Facebook that he's a stupid idiot. I'm going to let's just skip those, because those are bad ways to address it. Lisa, do you have some hints and tips on how to sit grandma, uncle, cousin, friend, Bob, whomever down and discuss it with them? Because sincerely, there is a right way and a wrong way to handle a disagreement in the family. And we want to give ourselves the best odds of reaching, I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for here?
Detente?
Of reaching a detente or reaching common ground.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
Well, what would you recommend?
I would recommend asking Lisa.
Okay.
Lisa has you're really cutting yourself short here. Sincerely, Lisa,
why do you keep asking me questions? I feel like I'm being interviewed.
Well, but you haven't asked me any questions. I feel like I'm being ignored.
Okay.
Also, the whole time I talk, you keep talking. So Every word out of my mouth, you respond with something. So I figure
Okay,
you want to
okay,
talk
okay.
more.
Okay, fair, fair, fair. Fair statements all, Gabe. Fair statements all. Okay, so the question is, how do you approach this? Um, well, I guess it depends on who it is. Is it some tertiary family member you don't really care about, or is it someone you really do
I
care
really
about?
don't think it matters. I think the rules are the same. Respectful dialogue about a disagreement has, it doesn't matter if it's mom, dad, grandma, or a stranger. We have to be able to respectfully disagree. There's just far too many things in our society for us to find one person that we agree with everything. I love my wife. My wife is the greatest woman that ever existed, and I picked her out of all of the people in the world that I had a choice of, right? We don't
I
agree
like how
on
you added in a
everything.
qualifier.
Well, yeah, Scarlett Johansson said no. I picked her
Yeah.
first. But since you understand what I'm
No, you did.
saying, right?
Yeah.
I just, you can't expect to agree. So how do you respectfully disagree with people? How do you broach the subject in a way that doesn't make people mad? And I feel that you're selling yourself short not answering this question, because you've done it a lot. You've done it in your own family. You've done it with my family. But most importantly, you and I do it constantly. We disagree on
Really?
almost everything. How on earth are we friends?
Well, one, that's not true. But
Yes, it
two,
is.
no, it's not.
Case in point.
You did that on purpose.
Did I?
Oh,
I don't agree with that.
woo, meta. Anyway, okay. So I guess what I would say is that you do just like you said, make your point and get out. Sit down, try to pick a neutral location, try to pick a neutral time. Like, as much as you want to say something immediately after the insult, try not to. Try to approach it at a time when you're both are a little bit lower, when neither one of you are worked up. And like you said, short I statements, declarative sentences, and make it all about you. Don't make it, hey, you're an idiot when you say these stupid things. Say things like, when you say X, I feel. When you do X, I feel. All the I statements you've ever been practicing.
I am curious. I want to stop you right there. I'm curious as to why you mock I statements. I mean, like sincerely,
I
even
don't
in your,
know. You're right.
I
I should probably
completely
stop.
agree with them, and I think you would too. If I
You know.
said it makes me feel like you're not taking this seriously
Okay,
when
that's
you
fair.
mock
That's
I
fair.
statements, that's what you want. If I said you're a jerk for mocking you would get angry. So I know that
Okay.
you
Okay.
believe in I statements, yet you kind of mock them. I've
Hmm.
noticed that a lot of people do that.
I
It's
do. Yeah.
stereotypically a male trait, just so you know. From leading support groups for all the years, all the men say things like, I use I statements. And I'm like,
Right.
did it work? Yeah. So while acknowledging that it helped their relationship or their marriage, their sobriety, their mental health, they're mocking the thing that clearly worked. It's
Huh.
unusual that you do it, especially since you're certified in
I do it all the
teaching
time.
it.
I actually never thought about that before. You've actually made an excellent point there. I do always mock I statements, and that's a good point. Why do I do? You're right. That is I got nothing. That is an excellent point that I had not noticed, and I should probably stop doing that.
You heard
Um,
it here first, ladies and
huh,
gentlemen. Gabe Howard
who knew?
won an argument with Lisa.
Didn't see that
Woo!
coming. Yeah. And neither
Lisa,
did you.
sincere, yeah, neither did I. Uh, One of the things that you always told me when I would get angry at people, Lisa
Mm,
has supported me in mental health advocacy for well over a decade. And I have heard, as anybody who has lived with mental illness, has been around mental health advocacy, or frankly, any type of advocacy, somebody has said something hurtful to them.
mhm.
And Lisa has grabbed my collar many a time when I start to run towards them to save the day, and said, stop
Yeah.
tomorrow, wait, just think about this, get your thoughts in order. And that's really where I was kind of leading you, because you're really good, especially
Oh,
when we
thanks,
serve
Gabe.
on panels. Lisa and I have codes. Sometimes she'll see me lean forward to the microphone, and she'll put her hand on my shoulder, and I know that's code for, you didn't count to 10 and you're about to say something you're going to regret. And the reason that I bring this up is because obviously that's in public, and it's very hard to take things back publicly. But this has served me well one-on-one, because we need to be able to respectfully disagree. But one of the things that you didn't say, Lisa, was remove the audience. And I think that is
Oh, okay.
very
Yeah, that's
important.
probably true. Yeah,
Don't tell grandma, grandpa, Uncle Bob, favorite cousin, while sitting at Thanksgiving
yeah,
dinner, that they hurt your feelings or they're
that's
going to
good
dig
advice.
in. Invite them to coffee. Pull them aside. one-on-one use I feel really bad when you make fun of my illness, or
Mhm.
I feel really bad when you say stuff that disagrees with my values or ethics or beliefs. I just think it works better when it's one-on-one, because then you
Mhm.
guys are making a deal. One of the things that we did in my family, strangely, and I have no idea how, is filled with hardcore conservatives, extraordinarily liberal liberals, and everything in between. We have libertarians, independents, Democrats, Republicans, anti-politician people. I don't even know what we have. I think we all pick something different because we're secretly vying for a reality show, and we don't
And
fight
look,
at
now we have a
Thanksgiving.
podcast.
We don't fight at Thanksgiving. And people are like,
Mm.
oh my God, I just met your sister. How do you guys not fight at Thanksgiving?
That's not nice.
And I don't mean that mean. They're just like, Gabe, you and your sister are both very type A personalities. You both have strong opinions and you disagree on these things. How do you survive? And I look people right in the eye and I say, we don't talk about it.
Right.
The end. We
Yeah.
don't, we have a no politics and no
Yeah.
religion rule in our family.
You're good at that.
That's it. And what's most important is that we all respect it. And if anybody tries to lean outside of it, the rest of the family pounces.
Right. You got to get those people. Yeah, that really is the key. Remember that podcast you had about boundaries, right? About when you say, don't talk to me about this, do not say this, and people immediately do it, right? You have to first, you start off as the joke, right? Now, we said no politics at the dinner table. Now, like that, or, oh, we need to change the subject. We don't agree on that. Say it as condescending as possible. People love that. And then,
but jokingly, give them the out.
right,
Give them the joke.
exactly.
Yeah,
Give
I
them
know
the
what you're
joke, because
saying,
that gives
Lisa.
them the out. Yeah,
I do. I
that gives
understand
them
what
the
you're
out.
saying.
And then, of course, if they keep doing it, get up and leave. You only have to do that once.
Do you think, to tie this back to COVID-19, the quarantine, the pandemic, and all of the social media memes, which is what we're talking about, do you think that it is reasonable to tell your friends and family that if they are going to continue posting the conspiracy theories and stuff about the pandemic and things like that, to let them know that you're going to snooze them?
Yeah.
Or do you think that you should just snooze them and not tell them? Like what's your recommendation there? And I know it's different for every family. Maybe you tell your mom, because I know it gets hard. Like I would, my sister is not posting conspiracy theories. I just want to make it very, very clear. But if she started, it would be difficult for me to just want to mute her, because I want to see pictures of my niece. I love my niece. So how would you recommend handling that? Like say, please don't use your Facebook for politics. Like, is that reasonable?
I don't understand Facebook as well as you do. Is there some mechanism to eliminate some things and not others? I mean, can't you filter out by word or something?
So sort of. There are more and more mechanisms that change daily, and algorithms are constantly changing. We do have more control over our social media than we give ourselves credit for. And I think you've stumbled onto a really good point, which is control your technology.
Yeah.
Do you know how many
you only
times
have to set it up once?
Yeah. You know how many times I call somebody and they answer the phone and like, you woke me up, and I'm like, why is your phone on?
Right.
Like,
That's
how
not
was
my
I
problem.
supposed to know you were sleeping? Turn your phone off.
Well, why do you keep bothering me? Then what's the problem? What are you talking about? Yeah, that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, things like that. So you always say control your technology. I know that you turn off your ringer when you take a nap.
Well, yeah.
And of course, people always fire back.
Phone.
Well, what if there is an emergency? Well, but see, this is the great thing about technology. There is literally a setting on your phone where the emergency calls can get through.
Right.
I have the setting on my phone so that if somebody calls me, it goes to voicemail. If they immediately hang up and call back, that second call rings. And I have that set up so in case there is an emergency. And I don't tell many people that, except now, of course, I've told the whole world. Now I'm going to have to make the system. Yeah. I'm going to have to make it through. I just thought about that. I was like, well, I can tell Lisa. Oh, and then I thought, oh, we'll edit it out. Oh, we're live.
Yeah. See, you got sucked in.
Oh, it's difficult. It's difficult being live. Lisa, we're nearing the end of all of this. Other Facebook memes that I've seen, they joke about it. They're designed to be, frankly, they're just designed to maybe help us cope. The one that I saw is, can you believe that Cinco de Mayo got shut down by a disease named after a Mexican beer? Now, first, the disease was not named after a Mexican beer, but there is, in fact, a Mexican beer named Corona. But yeah, that is kind of funny. But how do you feel about people making jokes about a global pandemic that has killed hundreds of thousands of people across the globe?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That I don't know. I don't know. And incidentally, you can tune into the Not Crazy podcast to hear more about this issue probably next week.
It's a couple of weeks.
Well, we don't know exactly when it'll air yet, but we're going to do that and it's going to be soon. So that's why you need to listen to every episode so you don't miss that one. Anyway, not the point. I don't know. See, that's a hard one because on the one hand, gallows humor, dark humor, that's an established thing. This is a recognized thing that is almost universal that helps people cope with difficult things. Humor is a valid coping mechanism that helps lots of people. But yeah, some of that is like super insensitive. So I don't know. I guess it's for every person. And it's also probably for every audience. If you had perfect knowledge in advance of your audience and how they would react, this wouldn't be a problem. So I guess for me personally, I would probably say be really careful. Try to be sure that you know how this is going to be received.
I do this thing on my Facebook page. They're called caption contests, right? We all know what a caption contest is. It's a blank picture. It has no caption. Everybody fills in their caption, and whomever comes up with the best caption wins. And you win $5 off my book, Mental Illness is an Asshole, available on gabehoward.com/merchandise. But
also on Amazon.
Yeah, but for more expensive money, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, so you really should go to gabehoward.com. That's GABE Howard.com.
Stop. I did this for well over a year, and I just found funny pictures all over the place.
The one with the unicorn was adorable.
Yeah. One time I found this picture, and it's a viral picture actually, and it's the picture of a woman sitting on a scooter, and the scooter fell over, and she's like half on the scooter, half on the ground, and I put the picture, and I had everybody do a caption contest on it, and somebody sent me an email and said, you know, your whole thing is empowering people, you know, empowering people who are living with mental health issues, who are dealing with mental illness, so they can move forward and lead their best life. And on your Facebook page right now, you're mocking a woman who had her picture taken probably on the worst day of her life and is now all over the internet for people to make fun of. Is that really the empowering message that you want to have? No.
Okay.
No, not at all. I felt horrific. Okay. I never even thought about that way. I didn't consider it from any other point of view. I just thought that it was a funny picture. I didn't consider anybody's feelings. And that email, it made me realize I should not use pictures of people unless I have their consent for the caption contest. So now there's a lot of animals and graphics and things like that. That's the first thing.
The animals are the best ones.
Yeah, the animals are the best one. The second thing that I realized is that this person was really polite. This person didn't make a public comment. This person didn't say, you know, Gabe, you're a jerk face. This person pointed out something that I did not see. But finally, I considered their point of view and didn't get mad. Now, even if I disagreed with them, which in that scenario, there's no way that I can disagree with them. But let's say that I posted some other joke, and they said, you know, look, a lot of people love their dogs, and you're using a dog for a caption contest. And I would say, you know, I'm very sorry. I understand. I apologize. But, you know, dogs do funny things, and I think that's good. You know, again, if the picture would have been different, but I would have been polite in my response, and we would have agreed to disagree. I would have said, hey, maybe the caption contests aren't for you. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you are one of the people that uses the dark humor and you like it, and somebody calls you out on it in a respectful way, consider what they're saying. You might find that you agree with them. But if you find that you don't agree with them, write back and be polite. Say, you know, this is how I'm getting through it, and I understand that we disagree on this, but I feel that it's okay, and hope that the relationship that you have with this person can survive this disagreement. And again, that's going to vary for everybody. Facebook is a challenging place, and we're spending so much time on it because of COVID-19. And that's, we're on Facebook right now discussing how to best utilize Facebook and other social media sites and dealing with all the memes that are out there. One of the things that helps me the most, Lisa, is something that you said when I first got started in public speaking.
I'm very wise.
You are very wise. You said, Gabe, there's going to be somebody in every audience that hates you. There just is. If your goal is to have 100% of your audience love you, give it up. Give it up now. You will never be a speaker.
Right.
You'll never be a podcaster. You will never be a writer. You will never, ever, 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 ever do anything public facing. That was there was kind of a freedom in that.
That's always been hard for you. It makes you uncomfortable when people dislike you.
As somebody with an anxiety disorder, it's very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I want to expound on that, Lisa, and say that if you are that person that dislikes Gabe, or that dislikes that meme, or that dislikes that conversation, what helps me the most is not when you come up to me after my speech and tell me I suck. It's when you just decide that it's not for you and that you move on. I can tell you that I almost never get people that come up to me after a speech and tell me that I suck. Sincerely, I can count on one hand in hundreds of speeches the number of people that have walked up to me and told me I did a bad job. But Lisa, I believe you. They're in the audience. They're just respectful and polite enough to just realize it's not for them and move on.
Well, but that kind of goes, is that, maybe it's not, is that in conflict with what you said previously about the person who very politely or says to you, hey, have you noticed this thing about your caption contest? You're like, oh, I didn't notice that. So it's a balance, right?
Right.
Between, hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you. Just go away. You don't need to stop and tell me that it's not for you. But on the other hand, critique is how you improve. So where's the balance on that? And it's different for each person and each situation.
Obviously you have to decide what you don't like. You know, if I saw a comedian that was not funny,
right.
And
yeah,
I just,
that's a good one.
And I said by not funny, meaning Gabe Howard didn't
think it was funny, right?
Yeah. Then when it was over, I would just leave politely and that would be the end of it. I would not be that comedian's fan. Right. But if that comedian had a joke about how people with bipolar disorder are causing all the violence in society and we should really round them up and put them in a boat and ship them out to sea and sink it, then yes, I would politely walk up to the person and say, you know, I don't want to go on a boat. And I want you to have a face the next time you tell that joke. You want my family to not have me anymore. And I'd say that very politely. So that's what I mean. If I walked up to this guy and said, hey, you suck, you're not a good comedian, you didn't make me laugh, that's too far. If I educated him on a point that I feel that I have expertise on that he doesn't, well, that's a whole different conversation. Right. But you're right, Lisa, one size does not fit all. And I think that's the problem we're having on Facebook right now and other social media. People are trying to decide the rules. There are no rules.
There can't be for billions of people.
Oh, Lisa, I love it when you hang out with me. Do you have any final words for our audience?
There's so much pressure in this. Oh my God. The best advice, and I've already said this, I think on a Facebook Live, I've had for the quarantine is to not put so much pressure on yourself. And I was even thinking about this morning. You get all of these memes that say things like, oh, now that you're home, it's the perfect time to remodel your bathroom. Oh, this is the perfect time to learn a new skill, clean out your closets, just insert something.
Right.
And I was really upset about that for the first couple of weeks because I thought, oh my God, I'm not accomplishing anything with this time. This is terrible. I'm a terrible person. I'm just a slug. And it was really freeing. I think it was your advice actually to just let it go. Just if all you manage for the next couple of weeks or months is to make it through the next couple of weeks or months, that's good enough. All right, you did it. Don't be putting all this pressure on yourself to make some great accomplishments during this difficult time. If all you can manage is to get through it, just get through it. That was very helpful.
I cannot agree more. Lisa, thank you for hanging out with me. And to everybody here, thank you so much for being here. We try to do these every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern, which would be 10 o'clock Pacific. So 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, and well, you can fill in all the math from there.
For all the other time zones.
Yeah. Hey, please check out the podcast on Psych Central at psychcentral.com/podcast. There are a bunch of them. Some of them are hosted by Gabe and Lisa. Some of them are hosted just by Gabe and feature experts. And one of them has a very, very cool woman who lives with schizophrenia. That's Inside Schizophrenia. Her name is Rachel Starr Withers. And well, frankly, she is just awesome. We will see everybody in a week.